All right. Perfect. Oops. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I know most of you. There's maybe one or two names that I'm not familiar with. So welcome. Actually, three names. My name is Anita Thompson, and I own Art Venture Workshops, and I teach for all ages, mostly for libraries, but other venues. And it's my pleasure to be here this evening with you. We're going to be drawing a cozy cabin ink drawing. So you're going to need a pencil first, and then a very fine point pen. So, and
That pen,
if
Mom.
you have a marker,
The
that's
pen,
okay.
something like ink. I'll show you about this. This is the ink. We're here. When we draw it, then we can trace them.
Okay, I'll find some.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Just wanted to make sure everyone was muted before we started. All right. So you will need a circle template if you weren't on the email for whatever reason and did not receive a circle template, or for whatever reason, you want to have make a circle. I think it's about, let's see, I want to say it was like 5.5. I want to say it was like maybe like 5.5 inches, or basically what I did was I just traced a circle from my Target trash can. And what I did was I traced like the bottom half of it, because you really just want the bottom portion of the circle. So if you do have the template, you can put it underneath and obviously trace it. I also meant to mention, obviously, we're turning our paper for landscape mode. So not upright, but side like this. And we're going to make our circle as close to, a little bit closer down to the bottom, our half circle. I apologize. I keep saying circle. It's really a half circle, because the top part of it is going to be our mountains. So I'll give everybody a chance to make their circle. Oh, thought I saw somebody coming on, but I think we're good. Okay. All right. Now, once we make our half circle, we're now going to start fleshing in our drawing. So again, we're first going to be doing this lighter using our pencil, and then we're going to be going over everything in a very fine tip pen, or marker. As you can see, it's very thin here. So now if you don't have something this thin, that's okay. It'll just look a little thicker, and that's quite all right. All right, so getting started here, I'm going to add a little more light to this so you guys can see it. And we're going to start over on the left side. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a bit of a jagged area for the top. And we're probably going to be changing it a little bit as we progress with the drawing. But we want to make the outside of the top a little bit more like mountainous. So we're going to start over here on the left, and we're going to start, I'm going to move my camera in closer so you can see the detail here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a jagged line, and that jagged line is going to go up because we have a tree that's happening. So basically, we're going to be going upwards with our jagged line, because those are going to be our mountains. So I'm just going to show you one more time. So basically, we're doing an outline. So we're kind of outlining our tree, and we're going to go up like this. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to do it similar to how it looks up there. So I'm going to move my camera up one more time so you can kind of see in comparison here. There we go. And so coming back up to the top, we're now going to start doing our outline of our mountains. So we've got these little mountains happening here, a little bit bigger. And as we move across towards the end of our circle, something like that. And then we can just kind of go down into meet the rest of the right side of our circle. Now, again, we will probably be changing that a little bit as we get over to the right, but we want to have an idea of having our mountainous top. Okay, so continuing on here, we're going to come back over here to the left side and we're going to add this tree. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to be adding these separate pieces of the tree. They're almost on, well, they're on top of each other, and someone mentioned that they thought they looked like Dr. Seuss trees. So they're kind of like Dr. Seuss trees. So we've got kind of some wiggly shapes at the bottom. And we're just stacking these shapes on top of each other. My husband actually said that it looked like a strange ice cream cone. So there's another there's another shape you can think of. Lots of ice cream cones, or lots of ice cream on top of each other. Now, as we get to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got a fifth one here happening. And then we have a little bit of a piece happening here on the left. And then we're going to start adding little pieces of the trunk. So this is the first piece of the trunk that we see. And then we'll start again with sort of our weird shapes. And again, this doesn't have to look exactly like mine. We have another trunk happening, and you want to make sure to line that trunk that's showing, line it up with the previous one right here. And then we come right over to the edge on the left side where only a portion of the rest of our tree is showing. And now our tree looks like it's over to the left side of our circle. I'm going to give everybody a chance to catch up. I know it's a little tricky. There's a lot of lines in this one. And a lot of wiggly lines. But I think it looks really neat when it's all finished. Okay. So we're continuing on here. We're going to continue on going from left to right. And so we're going to kind of go back up against the tree, and we're going to add a little bit of the bottom portion of the mountain. So what we're talking about is this last part of sort of the mountainous area, because then we're going to be drawing our house. And we're basically going to be drawing it in as a shape first, and then we'll go back and add the detail. We draw our shapes first, as most of you who follow me in these classes, we get our shapes in first so that we know where everything goes. So that if you get into too much detail at first, then you have to erase it if it's wrong. So that's why we do that. So coming back over here to the left, like I mentioned, we're going to kind of go against this tree, and we're going to follow it down with our pencil about right here, right underneath where this part of the tree is and the first part of the trunk is showing. And we're going to start to make are parts of the mountain. And so we're going to make all these points as we go across. And then we're going to make our house. So you should be pretty far away from the right side of your circle. And the way you can judge that is from here, you want to make the top of the triangular part of your roof. And that's going to go across like this. So this is the top of your roof. So these lines are the mountain parts, and this is the top of your roof. It goes across, and then we've got more trees here. So we're going to draw those in before we complete the rest of the house. So I just want to give everybody a chance to catch up with that in case it's a little confusing. So we're going to come over here, and we're actually going to come up a little bit further or a little bit higher than the roof. And we're going to start making the pointed part of the snowy tree. So we're going to start making those tree shapes again, those snow-covered tree shapes, our Dr. Seuss, our Dr. Seuss trees. And after we make the first two, we're going to make the trunk showing again. And then we start to make another shape, more of the tree trunk showing. And we're just going to keep going downward, staying against or closer to our circle. And then as we get here over to the edge, we're kind of drawing shapes against it, against the circle, because our trees are moving towards the right side. And that's our first tree. And then we have another tree that's kind of sandwiched in between this tree and the edge here. So once you complete this tree, you can then start with the next one, and you may have to move your circle outward a little bit, depending. So here is the start of the next tree, and I'm gonna see, I broke the border there on my tree shape, and that's okay. I want to do that. I want to kind of keep it close to the border, but I'm going to draw on top of it so that the tree kind of goes outside of the circle just a little bit. So this part can be a little tricky because you're kind of trying to fit in these weird tree shapes, and they're only showing a little bit. So there may not be much that you have to draw when it comes to this tree, but you just want to make it look like the tree is coming out just a little bit on the border of the circle. Yes. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, John Paul. You got it. Oh yeah. That looks awesome. Nice work. Love it. Cannot wait to see these. Yeah, so now you already have what looks like the start of your half circle of your cozy cabin. Okay, so we're now going to go back to the cabin, the actual cabin. And so we started off with the top part. Okay, so we started off with this. Now we're going to come under here, and we're going to make another triangle. And so basically, here is your roof. And then we're also going to make the part that looks like the snow. And it's going to kind of go like this. And from there, you're going to come over to this part and you're going to make this line come down towards the trees. So this line's going to be shorter. This line's going to be longer. And then once you do that, you're going to come back over to this line and you're just going to make a little bit of a line like that. And then from there, you're going to come back over here and you're going to make the inside of the roof and the house. It's going to kind of meet up a little bit and then go straight down. For now, it's going to go straight down. We're going to be drawing a fence and windows and all that. But we're going to come back over here and finish off the snow that's covering on top of the roof. Okay, so the reason I had you make this and not complete it is we're just going to erase it slightly so that we can make this a little longer. And then we're going to come down past this point. So if you missed that, again, you're going to erase the line that was here that was coming towards the point. And you're going to make it a little longer so that it kind of goes around the point. And now this is going to be your snow that's coming down. So now you're going to come back and you're going to make a little bit of a snowy drip. And then go back down like that. So this is the snowy covered part of your roof. Okay, so continuing on, we're now going to come again to this point, and we're going to add one more section, and it's going to look like this. So again, we're kind of adding the snowy part, and you're going to go all the way around and kind of trace around. And you can see I'm kind of wiggling my line. You want that to be wiggly because that's like the snowy part of your roof. Okay, so we're gonna do some detail to our house here because it's kind of easier to get this part done and have it finished. And then the mountains and the trees, they're kind of a lot easier, but there's a lot of detail happening over here. Okay, so now we're gonna come underneath the roof and we're gonna make some lines like this. These are the kind of wooden slats underneath the roof. So just like that. Okay, so I also mentioned now what we have to do is we have to make the lines for our windows. And basically, we're first going to come right underneath the roof. So we're now going to be on the house part. And we're going to make light lines as guides. Oh, Sonal's coming on in. So we're going to make light lines about right here to make the guides for our windows on the left. Hello, welcome. We got started at 6:30 and we're recording, but we are so happy to see you and hope you can catch up. And if not, the recording will be available to you, but you're welcome to hang out and watch or catch up.
Thank you so much, Anita.
Oh, you're very welcome. So this is going to be our line, and I actually have to make it a little bit straighter. I just realized I kind of wiggled that line. You want to make it a little bit straighter. This is the basic line for the two windows. So doing that so that it is straight and only putting it down a certain amount, because then I want you to come over here and lightly draw in a straight line for the fence. And for now, we're just going to go like this and like this, because we also have some snowy drifts happening here. Once you make this line, you can erase, for now, the house line. So I'll say that again in case that was confusing. After making this line here, you're then going to make two lines here, and this is going to be part of the fence for the house. But we have some snow drifts happening down here as well. So we're only making the line partially down. Okay, so once you do that, we want to come back up here and we're going to make a line. We're going to move this line up just a bit because we're going to make a line right up against the top like this. So this house, this cabin is in perspective. So basically, from the angle of it, that's why we are working with all of these angles. Oh yeah, nice, John Paul. You've got the perspective perfectly. Perfect perspective. So once you have this line, remember we're making these lines light because we're going to be doing some erasing. We're going to come over here and we're going to start making the windows. So a small line here, and it's going to go up here. And then we're going to do the same with the window down here. But you're going to wait to make it go all the way down, because I think we're going to bring up this line just a little bit for the fence. Oh, I almost couldn't think of it. So like this, and then we're going to continue making the set of windows like so. So basically, your lines down here, there should not be another line right now. We're just making the top parts of the windows as we go across underneath our roof. And you want to go until you can't anymore, so that some of the windows are no longer showing. And then I'm just kind of looking to see here. Yep. We want to bring this line up just a little bit more. And you're probably wondering, well, where do we want to bring that line? Just about a half an inch more, not even, maybe a quarter inch more, just a little bit up higher. And then you want to make those windows at the bottom come down to that line, like so. So here's what it should kind of look like. And I'm going to give you all a chance to catch up and fix. Oh, nice, John Paul. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful Cruise family. Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. Nice job. Beautiful. Okay. I'm just scrolling through, making sure everybody else is good. Good, good, good. Okay. So now we have our fence here. And so basically, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make the posts to our fence. But before we do that, we're going to come here at the bottom and we're going to start to make our snow drifts. So basically, I'm talking about these parts. So we're going to make a bump here. We're going to make a bump here and here. And you're probably thinking, well, there's trees here. And you're right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start over on the right side. And these are going to be very light. So basically, we're going to go like this. And then here's another one that goes up a bit higher and across. And we're going to stop right here because we're going to add the tree that kind of cuts into our view here. So you noticed here, I went like this, but I left a little space because we also have a little tree here. So first we're going to start with our little tree here. And basically what I like to do is kind of make the trees look like triangles first, so that basically I can then create the shape of the individual little parts of the tree on that shape. So this part, I make a triangle and I make it light enough, and then I start to make the shapes of those separate parts of the trees kind of on top of it. Now I'm going to go closer just so you can see that. So see, it's like I kind of put those little shapes on top of the triangles. And then eventually, we'll erase all this away, especially when we go over it in pen. These are like our guidelines. So there's our first little tree. Now we're going to follow this over here. We're going to make another tree that's kind of standing up. So again, start off with your triangle. You can now erase inside your triangle that line. That's the hill in back. And then you're going to make those shapes, kind of wiggly shapes on top. And the shape that you've already made helps, right? And then you can just erase away some of the guiding parts of the triangular tree like that. And then you've got a nice triangular tree. And we're finally going to come over here because we're going to make that big tree that is going to start over here on the left. So again, I'm going to kind of make a triangle. It's going to go straight up and then down. Oh, is it a little blurry? I'm sorry. Is that better? Sometimes okay, thank you. Yeah, sometimes because my camera is really close, my hand in the way, the camera picks it up and it blurs it. So thank you. Yeah, let me know if that happens, and I'll also keep trying to keep track of it. So you're going to do the same thing here. You can erase any little part of the hill in back that happened. And then you're going to come over here and you're going to make those shapes on top of your triangular part. So you can make them, kind of smaller than the triangle. You can make them tilt a little bit. Like so. And then just erase any of the straight line from the triangle and anything in the back that doesn't make sense anymore, and then fix your tree, your newly Dr. Seuss type tree, like so. See, hopefully not too painful yet. We're getting there. Already it looks like a nice scene, I feel like. And we're going to come on back to the house and also the fence. So we did all of that. And so now we're going to come to the fence and we're going to make the posts that are sticking out. So we're going to start over here on the left and we're going to make a square, or I should say a sort of rectangular post. And then you're going to skip space and you're going to make all of these the same length across. So here's another one and you skip space in between. So remember, this is a fence. So you can draw it on top of the house too, or I should say in front of the house. So you're going to go all the way across and you're going to skip spaces. So you're going to skip spaces and make these until you can't make it anymore. So you should be coming right up against sort of where the tree is. So here are your posts. And then you're going to go in the middle here and you're going to make the bottom part. It's also going to go across in between. So a line that's going across. So you should now have something like this. So we're going to be also adding a bit of another line up top. So we're going to add another line up top for the wooden part of the fence. So that was this right here. And then in between, we're going to come down over here and we're going to make what looks like little windows in those spaces because that is part of the fence. And these two parts are right up against the line of these. So I'm gonna put this up close to the camera. So I was talking about these two kind of squares. And then you're going to continue going across. There's one more little one there. And we have some snow that is resting on top of the bottom portion of the fence area. So this fence area is open at the bottom on some of it. So now we just have kind of what looks like kind of a little squiggly line, and that's snow. So there's that squiggly line going across. We're going to be adding much more detail with our pen, but for now, you want those little squiggly lines. Yeah, nice, John Paul. Very nice. Just making sure everybody gets to see the detail there. I'm moving right along. I'm going to move up my camera just slightly. And now we're going to continue with the trees down here. We're going to fill in the rest of our trees down here. And then we'll be adding to our mountains. And then we'll be able to start with the pen part. Okay, so we're going to come back over here to the left hand side in between these two trees. And there's a little tree right in between these. So you can make, again, what kind of looks like a rectangle, or not a rectangle, I'm sorry, a triangle. And then you can make your shapes. Now, if you don't want to make a triangle, and you can kind of, recreate that shape with each of those individual kind of triangles, then go for it. I just know usually it helps people to kind of make it into a triangular shape. So there's our first little tree there. And then we're going to make a tree back here. And it's going to start about right here. And so again, I'm going to kind of make that shape like so. And there's another one right next to it, but a little bit shorter. And then you can make the shapes on top of your triangular area. We're also going to now add a few more here in the back, and it depends on where your mountain is, and where your sort of hills are. If they're not fitting where mine are, that's okay. You can leave a tree out. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. You can add some in if you've got more space. And we do have a tiny tree right back here, right near, sort of near where our fence is. And then we've got some little ones, really tiny, right in this little part here. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I see Joan's cat right in front of me. I love it. Oh, the cats are the best because the cats just want attention, and I see it all the time virtually. All of a sudden I'll see like a cat tail and a bit of a cat butt walk across. Beautiful, John Paul. Oh my gosh, so much detail. I'm impressed. Move my camera slowly up. Look at this. We are getting there. Look at this. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're now going to go into the top of our mountain here, back up here to the left, right where we made our first tree. And we're going to make a little bit of a point here. So we're basically now going to be making some of these parts of the mountain, these kind of cracks. So right now you want to come back and just make another kind of pointed area, and then you can erase the line from the previous mountain and back. And then you're going to stop. Actually, I went a little bit far. So you're going to kind of stop this line here because this line in this mountain is going to kind of come like that. So you've got a line here and then a line here. And then basically, we're going to come back over here to add another section of the mountain. Okay, so we're stopping here for now. And if you want, you can start from this point and you're going to wiggle your line, go up, and then back towards your tree. And then once you do that, you're going to come back to this part and we're going to start making some of those points by making the next section. Kind of go like this, go across, and we're going to go down towards the roof of our cabin here. It's kind of like next to the roof. It's not really at the point, the pointed part. All right. And then we're going to come back and we're going to start making all of these kind of shapes that are happening. So we're going to come back over here to the left and up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make kind of an indented line that goes like this and then goes back up to meet here. And we've just created two little mountain tops over here that we're going to add some more detail to. So again, what I did is I took this line, I went in a bit. This was already drawn. So now we've got these two little mountain peaks back here. And we're going to make a line here to separate it. And then come over here and kind of make the middle of that mountain a little jagged line. And then a little piece of a jagged line right there. So I'm just pointing my pencil to this section, just so that you know we're working on this section right here. And then we're going to continue on to this section. And we're gonna, where this point is, we're now gonna make another line like that, another wiggly line. So that was right over here. And you just kind of wiggle that line back over to this part. All right. We're going to continue over now to this peak, and we're going to make kind of a wiggly line like this. We're going to stop it and then wiggle it there. But we're going to come back to that line and make a bumpy wiggle. Go out towards our trees and kind of make what looks like a fork in the road. Nice, John Paul. Beautiful. Look at this. You've got the start of mountains. It's awesome. Now we're going to come over here and we're just going to make a little bit of a line like this just to separate that section. And then we are going to now come over here and we're going to make a bump from this line like this, like a point. We're going to kind of make a mountainous part over here that has 2 points. Here's 1, here's 2, and then it runs into our tree. That's this line right here that I'm pointing to. So remember, it starts from here, goes up, bumps, goes up again, and goes back to our tree. We've got one more of those, but this one is just kind of on the right side of this line, and it's just a wavy line that goes like that. So there's that one. So this one right here. Okay. Now we're going to come back to the rest over here. We're just about finished with making those lines, but we're going to come back down here and we're going to come to this point and we're going to make a little bit of a line there, squiggly line. We're going to come over here, do the same. And then we're going to come in this part here from where we did kind of that jagged line, and we're going to make another one right there. So again, I'm pointing to the line and you're just going to make it go up. And then the last part is we're going to come over here to this line. And we're just going to make kind of a jaggly line come out over here. So that was this part here, and we just make another line. Last part is coming right across from this line, and we just make a line like this because we're going to make this look like it's kind of a peak, and we'll go back in with our pen to do that. So we are now finished with our pencil. And we're now going to finally recopy with our pen. And then we're going to do some erasing. And then we're going to add the detailed lines. So we're going to grab our pen. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to trace around our half circle. And also basically we're tracing around the whole thing. So the outline. So very carefully tracing over your half circle and go slow. I like to kind of turn my paper as I'm going. And I even start on the other side and meet up with the other portion of it. Of the circle, I should say. And again, I just keep kind of rotating it around, whatever's easier. But I find for whatever reason, the circle part, I find it easier to make it at the top, you know, to turn the paper over, but that's just me. You might find it easier if the circle is at the bottom for you. I don't know why that is. I wonder if it's like psychological or something. I have no idea. So already, if you have that copied like that, I feel like it already looks better. And then you're going to start to trace all of the other shapes. And this is where, if you want to change something, like if you want to change the shape of your trees, you can do that. You don't have to copy over exactly all the lines. This is where I find that, I change some things. And then you also want to go inside and trace over all of the lines for the mountains. We're going to be adding really thin lines, but for now, you can trace over all the lines that we used for the mountains. And then we'll go back and make the shadows and the parts of the sides of the peaks of the mountains lighter using light strokes. But for now, everything is it's pretty much um, the same line. And just take your time. Trees, mountains, and eventually when you get to the house, I will show that too. I kind of like to do all of the trees and landscape part first for whatever reason. And it's funny, the more I retrace the trees, the more they look like ice cream cones to me, like ice cream flavors. Guess I was thinking of ice cream when I did this. I don't know. I was thinking I was trying to make it simplified, is what I was thinking. So just keep working your way across your mountains. Let's leave the house for last. Unless you've already started it and you feel confident with it, go for it. Because it's really, for now, just the same lines. And then, we're going to add some of the detail lines to it. Oh, let's see. Oh, sounds good. So no, very good. Beautiful. Oh, let's see. Okay, a fill is coming on. And so when you get to the house, so same thing, tracing over all of those lines, and we'll start doing other detail lines afterward. Hi, Phil. We're recording. We're towards the ending of our, almost not the end of our program, but we've been doing a lot of it, but this is being recorded, so you're welcome to join in when you can or watch. But welcome. I'm happy to have you. So again, just take your time, especially when it comes to the house area and the little trees. And if you are already finished with the recopying at this point, you can then start to erase all of the pencil lines, because our last part's going to be adding the detail parts with our pen. But we want to clean up any pencil lines that are existing underneath. I like to use if you have one of these are great. A kneaded eraser. It basically takes care of all the lines at once, without leaving any kind of eraser marks. But the back of your pencil is fine too. So, you just have to kind of wipe everything away. Oops, and I just saw where I forgot these trees all the way on the right side. So I'm going to grab those before I erase everything. So now I'm just kind of cleaning up the picture by erasing the pencil lines. I feel like no matter how hard I try, I still leave pencil lines somewhere. It's like a game with me, like, where else can I find pencil lines? It's okay if you can't find all of them. I just get weird with that. Like, oh no, I found another pencil line that I didn't erase. Just giving everybody a chance to fix any parts they want to fix till we move on to the final details. It's a very detailed one, which means these are going to look really good. So our final steps are the details now that we add to this. So as far as the mountains go, we're going to start off with the mountains first. And these lines are very light. So I'm going to move the original here. So if you take a look at the mountain lines, these basically, if you have another piece of paper that you can practice on, you can even practice on the back of the circle template if that helps you. Basically, you just want to practice creating very light lines. So for instance, if, here's my mountain line, right? And so we create really light lines. And the way we do that is we barely hit the paper and we kind of make like a very swingy sort of line. And so you can get better at it by going a little faster. You just want to kind of practice a little bit because you want that line to be thinner than that. These are light wispy lines. So it may mean that you're sort of lifting up your finger a bit, your fingers a little from making the lines on the paper. So you can kind of practice that at first if you feel like that will be helpful. And then we'll come on back to our original. Let me move this down a little bit. Okay, so we're going to come up to the top here on the left, and we're going to start making some of those lines. So again, we're going to come to the point here, and you're going to very lightly make some light lines coming down like so at a slant. And then a few more in the curve, and you're kind of curving them a little bit. So we were just working on this section here, and I'm going to go in close so that you can see what we're doing here. So just this section of the mountain here. And then we're going to come up here and we're going to make some light sweeping lines through the whole thing. And then we're going to go back And we're going to create some darker lines on top in this section right here. So first the sweeping lines, and then for a little more, we're going to go back, make it a little darker. Now when we go over to this one, we're going to go on the opposite side with our lines, because our mountain we want to be facing this way. And then we're going to do the opposite side lines like that. So basically we just did these lines and then these lines in the other way. And then when you're finished, you can add some darker lines up top. We're going to continue all up top here. So over here, our lines even lighter, barely touching the paper here. I'm pointing my pen here to where we just did. And then we're going to come up here, right, and kind of almost make like a center line in this point going this way. And we're going to extend that to that next section. We're going to come up here and we're going to go the opposite way. So here we are up here, and we're going to go the opposite way. And also add some lines further down. We don't want to forget this little kind of knob part here. We can do some close together lines back here. Then we can add some light lines going in that same direction over here behind the tree. We're going to go on top of this mountain area. And lines are a little bit closer. So we just did this section and this section. And we're going to move back over here to the left side, where we're going to come around this point and make really light curved lines going this way. Then on the other side of the mountain where this point is, close set together lines along the line, like so. See, and it's giving the eye the illusion that these peaks are going in and out. Now this whole section here is pretty white, except we've got some really light curving lines at the edge here. And then we're going to come to the opposite along this way, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to curve them inward. So it's going to give your eye that illusion that it's sloping. So see, just by adding some of those lines, it should look like your mountain peak is kind of sloping here in the middle. And then we're coming up to our last few mountain parts here. And then we have the trees to do and the cabin. And a little bit on the snow as well. But we're getting there. Oh, John Paul, that looks amazing. Beautiful. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but you're rising to the challenge. Okay, so these last parts of the mountain, we're going to come over here. Here's this one. We're going to add some lines here. They get a little bigger, longer as they come towards the tree here. You come on the other side and just add a few on the other side. To our next mountain peak, again, very light lines, just a few, and they get smaller as they come towards us. And then change direction on the other side. Again, very light. Here too, light curved lines. And if you can fit some lines kind of near the roof of the house, you can do that. We're going to come down here by the snow and we're going to make some little curved lines. Right in between, like so. And we have our cabin. Now our cabin, we want to add some wood, it's kind of like wood lines over here. And so kind of like scratchy lines going down. And they get a little bit closer together towards the top here. So again, I made some kind of scratchy lines here on the left. Then I come kind of up top and make those lines a little closer together. And then as we're going in between the windows, come here and just add a few scratchy lines here and here. And then for the windows, we're going to make some really light lines, 2 lines that are kind of going to the side and are very light to indicate glass. And now we're still going to come back over here to the house part. And we're going to come over here to this one and we're going to make some lines going in the opposite direction right on top of the lines we created and making them close together. So if you have to go over it twice to make it darker, you can. And then we've got a little line right here that you can make a little darker as well. And we're going to come on over to our wooden slats here. I'm going to go a little closer here since we're working on the cabin here. So now our wooden slats, we're going to make lines like this in our wooden slats. And then on top of our snow, in between, you make these little lines. We're also going to come up on the house portion, the roof part here. We're going to start to make some little dots right up against here just to kind of give it a little something like so. And then we're finally going to come back over to the left side, the tree here, and we're going to start adding some of those dots to the left side of the trees. So basically, we're going to be doing what's called stippling. So basically, going very close, and I'm going to go really close to the picture so you can see. Basically, making little dots on the left side of each of the shapes of the trees. This is kind of giving it a little bit of texture and sort of some shadowing without being really heavy. And I like to do it to the left side of each of the trees, at least the ones that are closer to us. You can do few little ones on the ones that are further away. It just gives the trees a little something. I do have one last part on the bark of the trees that I like to add a little bit too. So I also like to add a little bit on the bark of the trees here, some lines, kind of like what we added to the house. Just in the, in the bark part of the trees, the trunk part of the trees, some lines that just make the tree barks stand out, the tree trunk areas stand out a little bit. Sometimes what I like to do too is come underneath the roof here and make it a little bit darker on this section by adding some more lines, and then even under the roof, add some light lines on top of the lines we made just to make it a little bit darker, a little bit more shadow-like. And you can even outline the cabin if you like to make it just a little darker. You don't have to. I feel like it gives it a little bit of an extra oomph. I am so curious to see what everybody's looks like at this point. So I'm going to remove my spotlight and stop the recording.